As you might already know, or you're finding out through this video, a new SAT is coming. And the first administration of that new SAT is going to be on March 2016. So the first question you're probably asking, well, does this apply to me? And simple rule of thumb is if you're going to need to apply to college before March 2016, and so that's the majority of the folks who are applying in the fall of 2015, well, then the new SAT is probably going to come a little bit too late for you. But if you're applying for college after that, so the fall of 2016, you could probably use either SAT, the new SAT or the current SAT. And for sure, if you're applying for college in the fall of 2017, 2018, you're probably going to focus on the new SAT. So applying, let me write this. So this most likely will apply to folks applying for college fall 2016 and after. So with that out of the way, what's the whole point? What is different about the new SAT? And I'll do another video where I go into the details and I look at some of the sample items and we think about how they're different from the current SAT. But at a very high level, the goal is to really just be more aligned with what you learn in school. More aligned with school and things that you need to know to be college ready. So this even includes the vocabulary. The old SAT was, or you can say the current SAT, was famous for some words that you might not use in your everyday conversations or you might not use in even in college, while the new SAT is going to be more aligned with that. It still helps to know vocabulary, but they're going to be vocabulary words that you'll find using a lot in college or in your later life. So it's going to be more aligned with what you learn in school, and at a very general level, it's going to be simpler. And it's going to be simpler in terms of the number of sections, and we'll talk about that a little bit. You're going to have more time per question in general. It's also going to be simpler in terms of how you think about taking the test. The old or the current SAT, you have to think about, okay, if I guess on this, there's going to be a penalty for guessing, while on the new SAT, there's no penalty for guessing. So if you can answer it, answer it. If you can rule out some choices, still answer it. You should just always try to answer questions. So you don't have to really think about the gamesmanship of it. You just answer the questions. So the next thing you're probably thinking about, well, what are the sections and how is it actually going to be scored? So what I've pre-drawn right over here, and I hope you can read it, the writing is a little bit small, is I'm comparing the current/old SAT up here. So this line right over here is depending on your point of view, the current/old SAT, the one that is sunsetting going into 2016. Your last chance to take this is January 2016. And then this one is the new one. So this right over here, that is the new SAT. That's the one that we are talking about. So big picture, you see that the current SAT, you have 3 math sections. 2 of them are 25 minutes. 1 of them is 20 minutes. And it's not necessarily going to be given in this order. In fact, it's likely to be all shuffled up. While in the new SAT, you have 2 math sections. 1 of them is 25 minutes, and 1 is longer. It's 55 minutes, but they only have those 2 sections. And as you can see here, the longer section, you're allowed to use a calculator. And so you'll probably see questions that may be helpful to use a calculator. And then the other one, you don't use a calculator. And you see that the time is, let's see, you're comparing, this is 70 minutes and 54 questions versus 80 minutes and 58 questions. So on average, you have you have more time per question. And then we can look here in the reading. Once again, you have 3 sections of reading, 2 25-minute sections, 1 20-minute sections. Now you have 1 65-minute reading sections. And once again, on average, you have more time per question in the new reading sections. And I just want to make it very clear, it's not necessarily going to be administered in this order. I'm just showing you so we can kind of compare reading to reading or math to math. Then in the current SAT, you have the one that you would take if you took it in 2015. You have 2 writing sections, or 2, I guess you could say, non-essay writing sections. One is 25 minutes, one is 10 minutes. And then you also have an essay section that helps form part of your writing score. While in the new SAT, you have just a 35-minute writing section, and then the essay is optional. Now, this little green thing right over here, this is the experimental section in the current SAT, and there might be experimental sections in the new SAT as well. So this is kind of a comparison of things, and kind of the big takeaways are you have fewer sections here, more time on average per question, and then the essay is optional. So how is all of this going to be scored? Well, in the current SAT, let me write it over here. So let me write the current SAT, or you could view it as the old SAT if you want to view it that way. Current/old SAT, and I'm going to compare it to the new SAT. In the current one, math is scored on a scale from 200 to 800, and that's still going to be the case in the new SAT. Math is going to be scored on a scale from 200 to 800. Now on the current SAT, you have a reading score based on these three sections right over here. That's going to be scored from 200 to 800. Now in the new SAT, reading and writing is going to be combined. So reading plus writing is going to give you a 200 to 800 points of score. So this is going to be, I don't know what to write it in blue or orange, so maybe I write it in both. Or I'll write it in another color. 200 to 800 points for this. And in the current or old SAT, you have writing/essay as a separate section. Writing/essay. And this also gave you 200 to 800 points. While in the new SAT, you just have the essay section is separate from the writing in terms of score. So you just have the essay. And once again, this is optional. This is an optional thing. You have the essay, which is optional. I'll write it again, even though I wrote it down here as well. It's optional, and that's going to be scored from 2 to 8 points. 2 to 8 points. So what are the big takeaways here? Well, in the current SAT, when people give you their SAT score, they're going to give you a score. If you add these up, the lowest possible score is going to be 200 plus 200 plus 200, which is going to be 600, and the highest one is 2400. So it's on a 2400 point scale. That's the current/old SAT. While the new one, well, people are likely to give their scores. The lowest possible score is 200 plus 200, which is going to be 400, and the highest one is going to be 1600, 800 in math, 800 in reading plus writing, and then people might have also an optional essay score that is as high as 8 points. So those are the big takeaways. Hopefully that helps you a little bit. And in a future video, I'll look at the actual items and think about how things have changed.